Hello and welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Udit Grover. Thank you so much for joining me. Today on our show, we'll say goodbye to actor Alan Rickman, who passed away. A Damascus artisan fears for his craft. And we'll talk about a new Ethiopian-Israeli graphic novel. We begin by hosting Avri Rosen-Tzvi in the studio to talk about, I can't believe it, the late Alan Rickman.
Rickman. It's very sad. We lost two culture luminaries this week, both at the age of 69, both to cancer.
Both British, yeah. There are a lot of
the same generation.
Both great.
Both great.
The other, of course, being Bowie, but Alan...
Yeah. He was a great actor.
Amazing.
It's a personal blow. I loved him very much, his acting. He was known for most audience. He started getting recognition at 1988 for Die Hard, where he played one of the great villains, Hans Gruber.
Unbelievable.
No
Hans
relation.
Gruber, no relations to me, yeah. Although I did, I was called Hans for a few years.
He was only in Hollywood for 4 days before he got the part. He moved there to try his luck, and he got the part. But the most recent generation will better know him as Severus Snape from the Harry Potter series, where, again, he played a wonderfully villainous role, and really, you can't imagine anyone else in that role.
Yeah, he really captures, the essence of
with
Snape.
His cut, and we haven't yet mentioned his voice, this wonderful sort of deep voice that he had, which was perfect for Snape, and also was by scientists a few years ago determined to be one of the perfect voices. They said that him and Brian Blessed, like the voice people most like to hear.
Well, that explains when Kevin Smith casted him as the voice of God.
The voice of God in Dogma, a very funny movie.
Spot on.
But he was mostly a theater actor. He was in the Royal Shakespeare Company. He directed the play My Name is Rachel Corrie, based on the story of the activist who died in Israel.
Protesting the IDF's... treatment of the Palestinians. He was very politically active in general.
He was outspoken. Yeah. He was very outspoken. And
big supporter of the Labour Party in the UK.
Yeah, he was a bleeding heart liberal over there in Britain. He also directed The Winter Guest, which was a movie with Emma Thompson, a great movie. But I remember him a lot for his comedies. 2001's Blow Dry, where he played a hairstylist. It was a very funny movie that I loved very much. And for the geeks out there, Galaxy Quest from 1999.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. He was very varied and a wonderful actor.
And he has one more film coming out, Eye in the Sky, this week, which
definitely will worth looking into that. Thanks, Avli.
Thank you.
To a different matter now, Muhammad Abdallah is a Damascus craftsman decorating wooden furniture with shells and ivory. He fears that his craft might disappear due to the conflict raging across Syria. More in this report.
In his cramped workshop in Damascus, Muhammad Abdallah delicately etches away at wooden panels inlaid with mother of pearl. The craft, which consists of filling carved wooden pieces with shells, bones, or ivory, is one he perfected over a decade before the outbreak of Syria's war. The 43-year-old was forced to abandon his spacious warehouse on the outskirts of the city after fighting broke out.
I
had a 150 square meter workshop and 17 to 20 people working for me. But I had to move this to a smaller workshop, which is about 20 square meters, and where I now only employ 2 workers.
Since the conflict started in 2011, more than 260,000 people have been killed and millions have fled their homes. As with the mother-of-pearl craft, the conflict has taken its toll on other traditional art crafts, from ornate wooden furniture to Syria's famed brocade fabrics.
I
have no idea what happened to my factory, which I inherited from my grandfather, because it's located in an area where there are clashes. I have a limited quantity of fabric left in my store, and I wonder what I will do when my stock runs out.
Artisanal designs were popular among tourists, who generated about 12% of Syria's pre-war gross domestic product. This brocade workshop used to swarm with people browsing for hand-woven fabric, but despite setbacks, its owner continues to toil away at this large wooden loom.
استمريت بهالمهنة هي وأنتج فيها واشتغل وبيع بضاعتي إلى أوروبا.
I'm still working, unlike some of my colleagues who have closed their workshops, because I export my goods to Europe. It's the only way for me to survive and keep practicing my profession.
Experts estimate there were around 57,000 registered and unregistered Syrian craftsmen in 2009. By the end of 2015, between 70 and 80% of them had left the trade, casting a shadow over an integral part of Syria's cultural heritage.
The Last Day of Purim is a new graphic novel in Hebrew telling stories from the author's childhood about the experience of an Ethiopian immigrant to Israel. It was created by the husband and wife team of Yossi and Yarden Vasa, with her adapting and illustrating his stories. I'm very pleased to welcome Yossi and Yarden to our studio. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how did this book come about? What did it start off as?
I wrote this story for a long time ago, actually, just for myself, and I put it aside. It was after I met Yarden in San Francisco during a tour that I did with my one-man show.
Okay.
And then we came back and lived together in Israel.
Yeah. We should say you were an actor and,
Yes.
and a writer and a stand-up comedian, and
Yeah.
we'll get to that. But continue.
And then she introduced me to this genre of comics, and I loved it very much. And I don't know how, she picked up this story, one of the stories, and she find her story in this story, and it's began from that, I think.
Yeah, I didn't immigrate from Ethiopia to Israel, but
Could have fooled me.
yes, I know. But I did immigrate as a child a couple of times, one to South Africa and then to United States. So I was very familiar with the feelings,
experience,
yes,
yeah.
of the main character in the story, which tells about Yossi as a kid. And it just touched me so much, and it was like my DNA, that story, and I had to take it and work with it.
Right. So the experience of an immigrant is a universal one, you're saying, and you could connect to it regardless of the background and where you go to.
I think I can, and I think anyone can. Anyone who made a shift from one environment to another. And this is what the story is about.
Yeah.
The background and the specific setting is the Ethiopian immigration to Israel.
Yeah.
But it really talks about the world of today. People just moving around, and he wants to be a superhero. He wants to be a ninja. And it's like all of us looking at some, superhero that we want to be.
Now, doing it as a graphic novel, Yossi, were you open to the idea, or did it connect to you when Yarden suggested it?
Yes, very much. I think otherwise I wouldn't let this story go out. It was like I had to find a very cool way to present it to the world. It was a very little story. It's a very, very little story about a kid who wants to be a ninja in Purim, Israelis Jewish holiday. It's similar to Halloween's, I think.
Yeah.
So we see him pursued after this custom to be a ninja. That is all the story, actually. And we see his past and his present during this moment that he wants to get and to be like otherwise.
It's a bold move, because there aren't many graphic novels getting published in Israel going with that genre. It could have been a short film or something like that. It's bold. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree, but I think that's why it's starting to be successful, and I hope that it will continue to grow, because it really fits the story.
Yeah.
Because Yossi's personality, this kid is like, he's half his mind is half in Ethiopia, half in Israel. He's half with he's partly with his family's feelings, but he also wants to be like all the Israeli kids. His character is so complex, and in the story he goes back at like. He just shifts between mindsets and locations and memories.
The fact that you're dealing with your husband's story, did it make life easier on you? Were you given some insights about who you married? How did that influence your work?
There were other better ways to give me insights about who I married. This wasn't the most
I can say
intense
that's for me. It's give me something new because she took the story and put images that I didn't say in the story, like Rambo.
And did she get it right?
And she get it very right, and that was the moment that I knew she know me very well.
You knew that you married the right...
Yes, the right one.
Now, Yossi, you started doing stand-up with a partner several years ago, right? Tell us about a little bit how you got going.
Yes, I actually came to this, I don't know, this kind of... I'm doing stand-up and theater by accident, actually. I didn't know from a child.
Accident.
What?
It's a happy accident.
Yeah, very, very happy. It's work. It's work. So it's very nice. I'm doing also a TV show that I'm working about.
Yeah. And a lot of it is about the immigration experience, coming to Israel and finding your place here.
Yes, yes.
Was it a traumatic experience for you?
I don't know if it was traumatic, but it was very, very strong feeling that I actually taking it with me everywhere. Yeah. As a creator, actually, I find myself doing it over and over, telling this story. I feel like I'm finding another way to tell this story. Yeah. It was one of the stories that influenced me very much in my life.
You know, it seems from your experience and from many other from the Ethiopian community that the immigrating to Israel, understandingly, is a defining moment in their lives. I'm curious, what do you think about the next generation, the generation that was born here, that grew up here? How will they experience it?
I don't know. I'm very optimistic.
Okay.
I think
that's already a good start.
Yeah, I think the difference between making Aliyah come to Israel from other immigration is that we came and we said we belong to be here.
Yeah.
So it's a point that you start from a good point of being, you know, you leave your past away.
Yeah.
You have to leave everything and say I belong here.
Starting new.
Yeah, starting new actually.
Yeah.
So
it's not an easy situation to be in, I'm sure, and to start anew is you have to build something from pretty much nothing.
Yes.
Can you connect to what we've been seeing in recent years, the anger that we've been seeing about what has been happening, what hasn't been happening?
I understand that it's you know it was a matter of time that this anger will come out from the new generation that want to be belong. They are demanding something. We are demanding something very basic. Be like equal in a very basic way. Yeah. So I think that is the point that we try to put on the stage, and actually it's been it's doing something. I think I see in my environment people are very aware now of that. There are a lot of people who living and everyone is very different from each other.
Yeah. Well, it's at least we're moving in the right direction, and you guys definitely doing your part in bringing it to the forefront in other ways as well, such as this and your stand-up. And it looks beautiful, and I can't thank you enough for coming in, Yossi and Dildin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we're almost out of time, but before we go, here's our cultural recommendation for today.
The painter Max Beckmann lived in Berlin twice in his life, from 1904 until 1914 before the First World War, and from 1933 until 1937 after the National Socialists took power. The exhibition Max Beckmann in Berlin presents works the artist created during his periods in the city or that have a thematic link with Berlin to examine how the city made its mark on the artist's work. One part of the exhibition focuses on self-portraits the painter created in various periods that relate to his time in Berlin. Although he is not a household name as some of his contemporaries, Beckmann is considered a very important artist in 20th century art and has had retrospectives of his work around the world, including New York's Museum of Modern Art and the Guggenheim.
We're done. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all again next week. Bye-bye.